Will you go to the movies with me?
We need to talk.
Good evening, my dear. Your escort is here.
Okay, here we go for part 3 of making Finn in Anime Studio or MOHO 12. And left off, we have the body turn going on here. And remember, when the face floats off of the body, when you render it, it actually is hiding it. So just wanted to make sure everybody remembers that. So we have him with a full body turn. Going round. And now we need to make some, let's do some fingers for his hands real quick. These won't be like regular switch layer hands. I'm just going to make some strokes again. So I'm going to do a Command G to turn the grid on. And I'm going to hit A. And I'm going to select the left arm. And we'll just put some fingers on this arm real quick. So I'll just do A and, oops, on frame 0. To make sure we can actually create. So I'll just draw a line with 2 points in it, or 3 points in it. I'll hit the space bar and create shape, and then with stroke selected, I'll hit space bar and that'll fill black. I'll hit T. I'm going to just make it a little bit bigger, so I'm hitting W to change the width and make it a little bit bigger. Then I'm going to do a Command C to copy and a Command V to paste, and you can't see it because it's just duplicating that black line. I'll hit Q, click on the line, and you can't see this also just because it's doubled up. And we're going to change the fill color, so I'll click on the fill for the stroke, and then just hover over the skin color and release it. So that turns it white, or I mean yellow. I mean skin color. And then hit T. So we reselect those points, and then hit W to change the width of that, and we'll shrink that down so we get a finger. And I'll just hit T and deselect. So now you can see there's actually 2 strokes there, one on top of the other. And I'm just going to kind of move it into position, them into position. So I'll hit G. I'm going to select both of those points and pull them over here by the hand. And then what I'm going to do is do a Command C, Command V, and it's going to copy the skin color and that black outline stroke. So it's going to copy and paste 2 different ones. Copy, paste, and it has those selected, so I'll just move those over. And I'll do a paste again, and so now we have 3 fingers. And let me move these back a little bit. You know what, let's make the joints a little bit shorter. Actually, the whole thing. So I'm gonna hit G, oops, snap those points so it's a little bit smaller. And I'm just moving these points a little bit. Like that. And then I'm going to hit G and select the knuckles, or the points in the middle, hit C and just curve them out just a little bit. So I'm left clicking and dragging to the right. And then I'm going to hit B. And I'm going to select this arm bone in the bone layer. And then I'll hit A. And I'm just going to add some bones here, hit B, select the arm, and draw a couple more bones, hit B. Select the arm, draw a couple more bones, hit B, and I'm going to do bone strength, and I'm just going to turn all of those down. So I'm just left clicking and dragging to the left on all of them, because we're going to point bind these 2. And click left arm again. I'll select this first bone, hit G, select that point, bind points, bind points. Grab these points and bind points. And keep doing the same thing. I'm binding the points there and binding these here. I'm going to have to move the bones after this because they're not lined up with the points. But all I'm doing is hitting B, selecting the bone, and then hitting G and selecting the points, and then hitting bind. And that's what I did with all of them. So you can see it just grabs them all. But I have the bones in the wrong place, or the points in the wrong place. So let's see how they bend. Actually, I'm going to grab all of the points where the knuckles are and just, oops, move them up to where, yeah, I think maybe they should be down. So hit G, move both of the, or then hit T and move them back down one. And I'm going to go to the bone layer and just move the bones. So I'm going to grab the finger, shrink that down and pull this one up. And yeah, we'll leave it like that for now. Do the same with this one. And with the grid on, they just snap to where they need to be. So I'm snapping that. So we have fingers here. That looks okay. The Adventure Time, oops, started hitting play. Adventure Times kind of have noodle fingers too. They're kind of weird. They don't really have wrists. So we'll just leave it like this for now. And actually, let me make one more. I'm gonna select the left arm. Grab all three of the points of this first finger. I'll copy and paste. I'll move it over to just over to the side, actually. I'm gonna hit G. I'm gonna grab this point and snap it kind of right there in the middle. And put this one here and here. Actually, let's move this point over one. I'm just gonna make the thumb. So now I'll hit B, select the bone layer, select that arm, and then hit A. So we'll create a bone here and here on the thumb. Turn the bone strength down on those. Select the left arm so we can grab those points. Hit B, then G, and grab that first point. Bind points, and B, G, bind points for those other two. So we have the thumb there. Now, since all of the fingers and the arm are all on the same layer, well, we can kind of just hide the fingers by, since there's black outlines. I'm gonna hit Q and I'm gonna try and select just the black outline, and I'm gonna move it to the back. So I'll go to draw and lower to back, and I'll do the same with this finger. Draw, lower to back, and all that's doing is putting that black stroke that's behind the finger at the very back of the arm. So we'll do that, and do that with the thumb. Draw, lower back. And so when I select the bone layer, it just looks like the fingers are kind of connected to the arm already, which is pretty nice. And then when you're in the timeline, you can actually just, let me hit Command G to turn the grid off. You can move the fingers around wherever, and it's always going to look like it's connected to the arm if you float it over. So you can move it here and adjust the fingers as needed. Same with the thumb. You can just move it wherever you want it to be. And you can change how curved or noodle-like they are by selecting that middle point, hit G, and selecting both of them. It'll select the black and the skin color. And hit C and then just curve it. So I hit G, selected that, and then left click and drag to the right. And now you can see when I hit Z and try it out, it's got a little bit more of a curve. I can do that with these down here. Hit C, left click and drag to the right, and now when I hit Z, they're a little bit more curved. The only problem with this is you can see when the fingers overlap, there's not an outline. But you can fix this by actually separating each layer and making each finger your own layer if you want. But I'm just going to leave it like this for now, just for the tutorial. And again, go into the timeline and you can move these fingers around. Oops. In the bone layer, grab that bone and just move it wherever you want. So it's really easy to, in the timeline, if you have your character and you want his thumb to be hidden, you can just pull it behind, or you can move it over here so it looks like it's the hand is flipped. Oops. So you can have it look correct. It doesn't. It looks a little funny. Let's see if I can. Let's grab that left arm. I kind of want to shrink the end of the arm just a little bit, but this is in the way. So let's try something real quick. On frame 0, let me move this Command G. I just want to move this bone out of the way for a second. Left arm. I'm gonna. That's what I was afraid of. I'm grabbing, because I put this finger right in the middle. It's grabbing the points for the finger too. So let's do this. Let's go. I'm gonna click T. I'm gonna move both that black stroke and the middle finger over, so now it's out of the way. Now I'm gonna hit G and select the end of the arm, and I'm gonna hit W, and I'm just gonna pull it to the left a little bit, just so it shrinks down, so the arm gets a little narrower, and maybe looks a little better, maybe not. And then put that finger back in place. I don't know if that looks better or not, but I'll go ahead and do that with the other hand real quick. I'll fast forward so you guys don't have to watch all that. Okay, now I have this hand rigged, and let me test it out. Hit Z, so it moves with the arm. That one moves with the arm. And if I grab these, let's hit G, Command G, so we can see outside the grid. He's got this really crazy noodle thumb. Got some noodle fingers. And again, in the timeline, you can hit T on the bone layer, and then grab that endpoint and move these fingers and the thumb wherever you want it to be, and it won't affect when you're animating the arm. And you can also adjust. It's a little tricky, but just remember. Let's go back to frame 0. You can see the arm looks a lot thicker. The stroke. Go back into the right arm. So if I select that top, I'll see. I'm gonna hit Command G to turn the grid back on. This way I can move these strokes really easily. So I'll move this out of the way, the black one, and then I'll select this and then hit W and then just make it a little bit less wide, and then select this one and move it back into place. So it's a little thicker. So you can adjust these lines. It is a little trickier just because they're made of strokes, but hit Command G. Since these fingers and stuff are already just rigged to the arm, they should turn with the body turn that we made also, just because they should be on the arm. So go in timeline, hit Z, we'll grab this body turn, and you can see the fingers move along with the arms as well too, so we can turn him and pose him. And that arm is actually, it should be farthest back. Let me go back. You see when I did that body turn, his arm should be the furthest thing away. So when I turn, that hand should be behind that leg. So we need to go into the action window, actions, body turn. And so when the body turns like this on frame 1, let's make sure that arm is in the very back. So right arm needs to go under the leg, like that. And double click back in the timeline, and we'll check it one more time. There we go. So now, if he's turned face away from the camera, got that arm that way. And again, his hand looks funny, but we can just move his thumb to the other side if we want. Hitting T and kind of adjusting these fingers to how we want. And you can even use the scale. You can make the fingers longer or shorter, just to make them look just how you want. and hit T to kind of transform them and stuff. And they look extra broke. But that should work for just having some, you know, kind of regular fingers. Or not regular, but Adventure Time fingers. Now, so we got those fingers done. Look kind of crazy, but they'll work for what we need. His mouth. We only have one mouth, that open one right there. So let's go ahead and create some switch layers so we can start doing some lip syncing. So I'm going to zoom in, oops, on frame 0. And in his face, we have that ah sound. I'll go ahead and create on frame 0 a new switch layer, call mouths. Drop that in there. So we have ah is the default. Let's go ahead and hit duplicate, and we'll call this one eh. So we'll select his oh, I don't know if did I do that. I'll show you a little about groups really quick. So if you have a character that's really complex, and you know, like you want to, let's say, I always want to grab the points on his lower lip and his teeth and his tongue. Let's hit T. We'll select his tongue, hold shift down, select his teeth, so it grabs all those points. Then I'm going to hit G, and I'm going to grab just those lip points that we're missing at the bottom. And then I'll hit T again, and you can see that grabs everything that we've selected. So all you really need to do is go up to where is it? G with those points selected, and then we'll just call this lower jaw. We'll just type here and then hit create, and we'll do the same for the top. So I hit T, I'm going to select those teeth. I'll hit G and grab all the points in the top lip, holding shift down so I can grab a bunch of them. Call this upper jaw and hit create. And so what that does is anytime you have a whole bunch of points and you really want to grab just specific ones, and you know that you've created a group for them, I can just go up to select group and I'll hit lower jaw, and it just selects those points for you. So it makes it a lot easier to separate different parts of your artwork, especially if it's really complex. So we're making the EH sound for the mouth. So I'll do EH. And that's just going to close the jaw some. Then I'm going to hit the T and select the tongue and move it down. Let's move some of these points around. And I just want it to look a little less like he's screaming, and just make the teeth go a little closer. Now I'm just hitting T and moving individual points. So we got, and we can come back and fix these too. So we have ah, eh, and then we'll do consonants. So I'm gonna just build off of the EH sound, duplicate it, select the group lower jaw. I'll bring that even closer. Select the upper jaw, bring that even closer so the teeth are touching. So when your mouth makes any of the consonant sounds, it's going to have your teeth touching. So bring that a little closer. Maybe grab just the teeth, have those touch. Like that. Oops, didn't name it. I'll just call this cons. Let's do off the AH, let's build off of that. So duplicate that, and we'll call this L. And I'm going to grab the lower jaw. Oops. What happened? The group is gone. That's okay. I'm just going to hit T. Grab all of these. Oops. Hit G. I'm just going to hold shift down and then just grab all those points too. And then hit T, move it up just a little bit. And then with L, you want the tongue to be kind of touching the back of the roof of your mouth. So I'll just make the tongue extend up a little bit. Hit G. I'm kind of just putting these all into place where I need. That's an L. maybe constrict the mouth shape a little bit more, like that. Let's do the O sound, O or R. So we'll build off the ah, and I'll duplicate that again, and we'll call this O. Hit return. This time I'm just going to click on the mouth, and it's going to select all the mouth shapes, and I'll just hold option down so it goes constricts both sides and up and down. So we'll do like that. So that's pretty easy to do. Maybe move the tongue out of the way a little bit. And R is pretty much the same as O. I'll just duplicate the O, and then I'll call this R. R really is just showing the teeth a little bit. So I'm just going to open the mouth just a little bit more, and then put his tooth there. I know that doesn't look like much, but when you're lip syncing, it'll look a lot better. And let's see, F. So with F, let's duplicate EH and build off of that. And when you make the F or V sound, your bottom lip is usually touching the bottom of your upper teeth. Oops. So I'm just gonna grab, actually, let's go back a little bit. Upper jaw. I'm gonna hit T and move it down a little bit. Then I'll grab the points of the mouth and just kind of move those. Where is it? Points up like that. And then I'm gonna move the corners of the mouth down, so it's kind of a f, makes a f a f sound shape. Maybe like that even. So it looks like he's kind of, the teeth are touching his lip and kind of folding it in just a little bit. So there's an F sound. Oops, didn't name that. F, comma, or V. So we'll do that and apply. And hit OK. And let's see. A, E, I, O, F, L. I think that's good. We can make a couple more. Let's start with the ah. And then just duplicate that, and we'll call this like scream. And then you can make it really exaggerated. Move the teeth wherever you need them to be. And I'm just kind of deforming it to whatever. Let's move his teeth up a little bit. Grab these points and make sure they're hidden. Maybe I'll bend his teeth out a little bit. Grab the tongue, move that up. It's all about just adjusting your mouth, and you can make it as many as you want or as few as you want. It's really easy to do. You can see I just build off of one mouth from the other, so it's really quick and easy to create new mouth shapes. Just make sure like you're using the or hiding some of these points so they don't get seen. If I grab that bottom point and lift it up, you can see it kind of messes it up. So got the scream, and then I'm just gonna rearrange the mouths in the switch layer folder according to how much I use them. Actually, we need to make a couple more. We need to make a closed mouth. So let's go to cons and do just closed. So all I'll do here is grab the lips and just close his mouth. Like that. Bring those points in maybe. Let me move the teeth out of the way. I'm gonna hit T, move the teeth up, and the teeth and the tongue down, just so we're dealing with just the lips. And I'll hit T. Let's move these points in. We can have maybe a little bit of a smile. Like that. You can use W to make the corners of the mouth smaller too, so it looks more like a smile. And kind of just play around with that. So maybe that's the neutral. We'll do another one. I'll duplicate the layer and I'll call it frown. Move just those bottom points so he's like a little upset. And you can keep making them. I can do frown, I can hit duplicate and then do, I don't know, kind of, I don't know, like a wave, like that, kind of. Maybe make his mouth open a little bit. Weird lip. Let's move. I'll just call this like derp. Derp mouth. So you can keep making them, and then after you're done, what I usually do is put them in order in the way I use them the most. So close is going to be the most neutral. So I'll drag that up to the top. Then I'll do cons. Put that next, and then E, and then ah. Then maybe F, and then O, and R is right next to each other, and then we have L. Then I have these other like derp and frown and scream at the very bottom. And the reason I'm putting them in order is because I'm going to do a switch layer really quick. So under the face bone layer, I'll hit G, bring up that grid. I'm just going to put it over to the side. Making sure it's not connected to anything, so I'll hit B, click. I want it unclick. The arm selected for some reason, and that's not even in this bone layer. That's okay. I'll hit A and add that. Turn down the bone strength. Then I'll hit B, and I'll just call this mouths. So I'll label it up here. Show label, and I'm gonna color it purple just so we can see it. And then under window, I'll go under actions, and with the face bone layer selected, I'm gonna hit create new. I'll call it mouths. It has to be named exactly what the bone is. Okay, and I'm gonna right click on the mouse and select closed on the first frame. And actually I'm gonna go back to 0 and make it closed too. So first frame is closed. I'll hit the right arrow so it goes over 1 in the timeline. Right click on the mouse, select cons, hit the right arrow, right click, select right click, so all I'm doing is doing right arrow and then moving down 1 mouth and then creating keyframes for each mouth. Just like this, frown, and then scream. So I've gotten to the very last mouth. Then all I need to do is click on the bone layer, and then I'm just gonna rotate it. So I'll hit T, select in the center so it rotates. I'm holding shift down, and I'm just gonna point it all the way down. So basically, if I scroll through the timeline, now I have switch layer controlling every mouth that I've created. So I'll double click back into the timeline, hit G just so we can hide it. So if I'm in the timeline and hit T, you can see now we have a full mouth set. And Finn's ready to talk, and you can do lip syncing really easy. And because I believe, well, let's check and make sure. Let's go into his body. Oh, you know what? It broke, the face broke the link to the body turn. So now we're gonna have to recreate the face turn. Okay. In making those mouths, I somehow broke the face. So it doesn't turn, and then I ended up messing up the ears a little bit, so I'm just gonna recorrect those really quick. So I'm gonna double click back into the body turn, and under the face we'll go to frame 24, And I'll grab that layer using the transform layer tool. Pull that over to the right so half the face is hanging off. And remember, when we render it, it's not going to show up there. And then I'm going to go forward a little bit, like 36, and just pull it off so it disappears when he's looking away. And then go to frame... Let's go to frame 37. I'll move it back over to the left. And then on 72, we're going to drag his face halfway back onto the body. And then 96, it's going to go right back to the center. So it should turn all the way around. Now we need to make sure we do the ears right. So frame 1, the left ear is going to be in front, the right ear is going to go behind the body, so I'll drop that underneath. Go to frame 24, hit Command A, select all those, move that to the center, that ear, the right ear. Left ear is going to go to the center also. And I'll hit T and I'm going to move the points so they're just up, like that. Go to 48, I'll select all those points, move them over to the left. And this is the left ear going all the way to the right because he's facing away. Right ear is going to go to the left. And we're going to hit T and just re-transform that so it's right there. And then we'll go to 49, just one frame over, and then switch it so the right ear is going to go above the body. Left ear is going to go below. Does that work right? Yeah. Then on 72, move that right ear to the center, left ear to the center also. Oops, one of these should be in front. It should be the right ear, I think. 48 goes in front. Oh, somewhere right there it just moved. From here to here. Right ear should still be above the body. Like that. Then on 96 they should go back to their original position, so the right ear is going to go to the right. Move some points around, and the left ear is going to go to the left. And I did see that the stacking order got moved again somewhere in here, so right. Or actually, that should be right. We'll have the ears go both to the back. Or maybe they should both go to the front. 96. Let's make them both above the body. So I'll grab both of them and put those on top so they're right there. And double click in the timeline. Let's double check that and make sure. In the timeline, grab that body turn. Oh. Turn him sideways. I'll do a Command R just to render, make sure his face is getting masked out. So yeah, that looks right. Keep turning. Now he's looking away. Let's put his hands up and stuff like that. Render that. So, yeah, he's looking away. His feet are funky. Turn it this way. At any time in the timeline, you can actually grab the arms and move them wherever you want also. Just like the fingers. And I think then he comes back around. Just make sure he's looking this way. Just get his body in correct position. Yep. Again, fingers, arms, legs. If you hit T and grab the end points, the wider points, you can move those around at any time. So you can move his legs to be in a different position if you need to. If you want his thumb, can move this over to the other side and have that up like that. So he's doing a thumbs up type thing. Oops. Fingers look kind of broken, but he still rotates all the way around. The only problem with this rigs is that if you're trying to do a spin, I mean, it's good for putting your character into a position, but he doesn't turn left and right. Oh, his ears aren't connected either. Let me make sure that his ears are connected to his body. Left ear on frame 0. Let's go ahead and make sure. I'm going to click bind layer. I'm just going to click this head bone for both the left and right ear. Let's see if he still turns. So he still turns. If I grab his body, okay, now his ears are connected. I just wanted to make sure they were actually connected. And there it is. There's a pretty simple, basic way to create Finn from start to finish on those 3 videos. We can do some other things, a couple other things while you're in the body. If you want to make target bones to make him even more stretchy, let's go ahead and do on frame 0, hit B. I'll deselect everything, and then I'm going to draw a target bone right here. Hit B. Click on the canvas, hit A, add a target bone right here. I'm going to turn the bone strength of both of those down. And then to target, I'm going to select that lower bone, hit P, and then I'm going to hold Option down and click on that new one I created. And it'll create that little circle there, the little target. Same thing with this other bone. I'll hit B, select it, hit P to parent, and then hold Command down and target that one. So right now you'd be like, well, what's the point of that? It's just the same. Oh, and I already did this. You can see now though it's connected to this target bone, and if I stretch it, the reason why it's stretching is because I've selected these leg bones, and then under bone constraints I've done squash and stretch scaling. So if it was at 1, which is at default, and I grab this target bone, you can see his foot's always going to just target that bone, but it's not going to morph it or make it noodle-like. But if I hit B and grab those bones and add some stretch to it, so I'm going to do 0.5, 1.5 for each one, and then hit Z. Now the bone's going to follow it for a little bit, and it's going to make it him more stretchy, which is good. But you can see sometimes that angle of the foot or the arm, the leg doesn't bend the way you want. Say you want it to bend this way. All you have to do is hit T. Let's go in the timeline. So I'm using this target bone and I'm bending his leg, but I don't want it to bend backwards. I'll hit T and just click in the middle of this lower bone and left click and drag it. And you can see it snaps to the left or right. So now it's bending that way. And we've got some nice stretching going on. And the same goes for this leg. You can do the same thing for the arms if you want. If you want to make them more rubbery, go to frame 0. I will hit B and click on the canvas so nothing's selected. I'll go ahead and draw a target bone. I'll turn the bone strength down, hit B, select this lower arm bone, hit P to parent, and then hold Command down to have it target that new one we just drew. So now it's gonna grab onto that, and because we're using strokes, this rubber effect kind of messes up the arm a little bit if you make it too long, but still it's nice and stretchy, and it shouldn't mess up the body turn too much. Let me see here. I'm gonna do B, click on the canvas, I'll draw a new target bone, turn the bone strength down, hit B, then P, hold Command down so it makes that a target, and then hit Z. And this doesn't have any, oops, these bones in the arm don't have any stretching, so we'll select both of those, go to bone constraints, click squash and stretch. I'll type in 0.5. So it's 1.5 on each of those. And then this arm should stretch too. And you can do that with the body if you want to also. Let's see how it affects the body turn. So the body turn, it still works, but now the target bones aren't moving either. So you can adjust those and move them. Either you can just adjust them in the timeline so their legs and arms are in the right place, or let me just go into that body turn. I'll double click actions, body turn. So we'll go to frame 24, and I'm just going to grab those target bones and move those into place. So put those right there, and grab that target bone and move it to the side. Go to 48. It's hard to see. Let's uncross his legs. Grab the target bone, move that to the side. Move them back. And then last one, we'll uncross these so they go back like that. Again, you don't have to do this in the body turn, and this is just if you're using target bones. I can't grab, where is it? There. And go back in the timeline. Now if we use that body turn, we can turn him, go into the face layer, and you can see it's cut off, but we can still use the mouth just like that. And if I render it, you can see it's still sideways and it's not cut off. So that's pretty much it. Oops, I forgot to add a couple more things to the face really quick. So I'm gonna hit G. We're gonna add a blink and some eyebrows to the Finn character. I moved the body bone over to the left of the character just so it's out of the way. And then under the face bones, I'll go ahead and hit A and add a new bone. And I'll turn the strength down, and I'll hit B, and I'll just rename this blink. And I'll go ahead and color it to purple and show label. And then actions, click on that. Smart bones, and we'll add a new action, call it blink. And if you watch the beginning, the first tutorial in making Finn, I changed the eyes so they are able to blink fairly easy. So I'll hit T, I went to frame 12, and I'm just rotating it to 45 degrees. And then I'm gonna go to the eye layer, and I'll go ahead and hit G just to turn the grid off. And I'll grab those two top points, hit T, bring those down, hit G again, left click and drag, grab the two bottom points, hit T, bring those up so he's blinking, and then double click back into the timeline, and that should be good for the blink. Let's go into the timeline and test it. So I'll hit T and go ahead and test that. It blinks just fine. The mouth's still working good. And then let's just make eyebrows really quick. So go back to frame 0, and under the face, well, I'll click the eyes and then click new vector layer. We'll call it eyebrows. And I will hit S. That's for create new shape. And I'll go ahead and select the square, and I'll zoom in real quick. And I already have the color selected, but if you need to grab the skin color, just click on the eyedropper and drag over and let go. Over the face. Same with the stroke, it should be black. I'll go ahead and hit S and draw that square just like that. And I'll hit A and just added a point at the bottom, and then I'm hitting C to curve it out. I'll hit the hide edge tool so we can hide these edges on the other three sides. So when we render it, you won't see them. It'll just be just that eyebrow. But I made that a color just so we could cover his eye. So I'll bring it over here. I'll hit T and grab these points. Let me move this down. And then I'll hit W. And I'll just make those go into a point like that. So he has an eyebrow. I'll hit T. Select the shape itself. Command C, Command V to copy and paste. Move it over here. And now we've got some eyebrows. I'll go ahead and hit Command G again to make a new, or bring the grid back. I just like the bones being the same size. It's kind of OCD-ish or something. Go ahead and hit B. Make sure none of the other bones are selected. I'll hit A to add a new point. Draw a new bone. Take the bone strength all the way down. Hit B. We'll call it eyebrow. And hit return. I'll color that purple too. Show label. So now we see the eyebrow. And smart bones, the actions are still open, so we'll create a new action. Call it eyebrow. Hit return. If it worked correctly, this will turn blue. I'm just going to go back to frame 0, and on frame 0, I'm going to double click the eyebrows and uncheck visible and apply. And hit OK, just so they aren't visible at first when we start turning it. Then I'm going to go to about frame 3. Can't talk. And double click it and say visible. And hit apply. OK. Then I'll go to frame 12 or something like that. Doesn't matter where it is, just bring it further along the timeline. I'll zoom in, Command G to turn the grid off for a second. I'm gonna go ahead and hit G and hold shift down and grab the eyebrows, hit T and move them down. So we have this kind of eye position, so they go from up here to kind of covering his eyes like he's sleepy. We'll go to frame 24 or maybe 22 or something like that. I'll go ahead and change the shape of the eyebrows, and I'll do them straight across like that. Then I'll go to 30. I'll turn them up so they're kind of angry, and you can just make a whole bunch of eyebrow expressions. I'm just making a few here. Here's worried, so I'll move them both up like this. Go a little farther. Just kind of move them like that. I think that's pretty good. So on the very last one, we'll just go there. And then I'm going to zoom back out. I'll hit, make sure I select the bone layer. I'll hit T and rotate. Whoa. Mouth is moving. Why is that? Okay, well, I'll set it to hold shift down and set it to turn all the way down like that. So when we scroll through, all the eyebrows should move like that. Maybe the mouth is... Let's double click back into the timeline. Let's make sure the mouths... Why is that moving like that? Okay. I'm trying to figure out really quick why the mouth was moving. When blink works okay. Mouths work okay. Make sure the body turn. Oops. In the timeline. That works okay. Huh. Blink, mouths, but when I do eyebrow. Okay. Somehow the mouth is linked to that bone. Let's try and unlink it. So I'll click on mouths. I'm going to select bind layer. And somehow it got bound to that bone. But we'll just click off the onto the canvas and see if that fixes it. So let's go in the timeline, go into the face, got the blink working, mouth's working. Okay, there we go. And the mouth isn't moving. I don't know how that happened, but for the eyebrows, what I did is, even though it's animating from one position to the other, I want to set it to step. So on that very first frame, I just clicked rotate. So there's the default where you can't see it. I'm just going to right click on it and say step. So when I go through the timeline and I want to change his eyebrow expression, I can just pick whichever one I want. So let's say angry. Where is it? Kind of right there. I can add another one. So it'll jump from nothing to that position. And then if I go forward and change it again to really surprised or like worried like that, it just jumps from one to the other. So you just kind of pick which one you want. And you can add as many expressions as you want. So if I turn him sideways, oops, in the timeline, let's turn him to the side. So if I render his face, he's looking sideways. And then in the face, the mouth still works, so we'll just open that up. We can have him blinking. We can have the eyebrows up and render, and you can see, kind of see his eye. But the main thing is you can see that the mouths and the eyebrows and everything we just made are rotating with the body turn also. So really quickly, just wanted to throw that into the video. Again, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and I'll see you next time.